Welcome in, y'all, and a happy Friday evening. We are your hosts, Bull and Timmy G, and we're going to be recapping Tennessee versus Oklahoma State, our first real test. And Tim and I was just kind of talking about it, off air. But there's some things that I liked about what Tennessee showed out there. There's some things that I feel like we still need to get better at. Obviously, with such a long season, I think that we will be fine. But we'll go through all of that. Y'all, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And Tim, I think that the easiest way for me is always just to bring up these actual stats. And I've got my notes from the game that I'll kind of be going back and forth to. But I'm going to kind of give you some of my early thoughts with this team. Number one, dude, Doyle he's a beast. He's a problem.
That's the first place I was going to go.
Yeah.
and look, I know it's early in the season, and what we've seen him throw against is probably not the way it's going to look as we get deeper in. But this was a good team to go up against, and he's still pretty damn good. I mean, so yeah, that dude's going to be something, I think.
Yeah. So he ended up with 9 strikeouts, and he's got something that I've seen it. Like, I don't want to say that I haven't seen it since this person. And I don't want to say that he's going to be this person, but whenever I watch him pitch, me growing up here in the A, 90s Braves, there's a lot of like late movement to his pitches that reminds me a lot of Maddox. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got that. He has where the ball will break to his arm side, but also to the other side. So I think that that's a big part of the reason that hitters aren't really hitting him. But something else that I've noticed with him, and this will be my only knock. This is a very small, minor thing. So please don't take it anybody like I'm bashing him, because I'm definitely not. I think he might be the best pitcher in all of college baseball, just from what I've seen. If he could find, and I think he's going to need to do this once we get into SEC play, and definitely once we get into the tournament, he needs to be able to find a little bit more break on those pitches. Because what I did notice even earlier today was on the pitches that just kind of go side to side, the batters might miss that sweet spot, but they're still making some contact. And once we play, once we go up against some of these better teams, that could be a problem for us. But I don't even think that it will be a major problem, because the bats are crazy. Like, we ended up hitting 4 bombs today. Tim, what was your take on how the batting looked?
Like I told you, I came in about the 4th inning, so I had to watch the home runs on Twitter, right?
Okay.
Everybody tells, everybody's like, oh, Tennessee, you play in a little league park, and you play in this small. Like, look, bro, games like today prove that's not a thing. I mean, look at the College World Series, look at the SEC tournament. They still knock them out. Like,
yeah.
They're whoever's handling the weight room program is like their conditioning program. They produce some monsters. And Tony Vitello, man, he is just on a roll. He's getting who he wants. Like, he's building a
dynasty.
It's looking that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking. He's something.
Yeah, I would have to concur with all them thoughts, Tim. And just like, looking at this team, I would say that from top to bottom, I don't really see any real hole. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's still very early on, but it's not like last season, where last season's team was obviously very good. But I think that this team on paper is actually even better, because there's still several players that haven't really played, very much. We got some guys that are going to end up playing with the team that have not played at all. That are going to step into this lineup, and just talking about batting. I feel like 1 through 9, everybody looks really good. We got those freshmen, dude. Levi Clark. I mean, oh my God, dude! Like he is a professional player for sure. So yeah. I would say probably positive thing is that this roster is loaded, but the negative thing maybe is that we're going to lose a lot of the players from this roster after this season, because I'm seeing a whole lot of MLB players. But dude, Clark is serious. Every time he makes contact, it's powerful. And I think that he came into this game with the highest batting average in all of college baseball, like 600. And for him to just be a freshman, that's astronomical. I feel like our other freshmen are doing some really, really nice things. But as I'm watching us hit, number one, Tim, like you said, for us to be able to hit it as far as we did out of a major league park, upper deckers and all of that. I mean, the ball's flying out quick. I think that speaks volumes to what this team's going to do throughout this entire season. But I like the patience. That's something that I noticed earlier too, not just with the game tonight, but earlier in the season. I noticed that we're a lot more patient with our bats. I would say that Dean Curley, He's a guy, you know what? We might have talked about this last season too, where sometimes maybe he's a little bit too patient, but I'm not going to knock him for that right now because I think that's going to pay off dividends for us once we do get into the tournament play and all of that. But, I don't see people just swinging at junk. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're making pitchers have to pitch to us. And that's a big part of the reason that we're leading the nation in home runs, because they got to put it inside of our wheelhouse. And whenever you do that, everybody 1 through 9 has the power. And we could probably even say 1 through like 15, 16, 17. They can all knock it out. So I think that the bats are going to be just fine. There were some things that we did, throughout the course of this game where, we weren't trying to slug. We're hitting it to the open spots, to the gaps. Even though we've got some youth on this team, I feel like we've got some guys that have played enough college baseball that they understand what's coming. So I think that from top to bottom, just talking about batting, right? Just talking about, how are we going to be able to get points? I think that we're in a really, really good spot. We also have some guys that can run the daggone base, but taking it back to our defense. So again, man, we saw Doyle pitch tonight. And we could come back up to the batting here in just a minute, but Doyle did, or he started off tonight, obviously had a great showing. And then we bring in Lloyd. Lloyd, man, with those slurs and that stuff that he's throwing, comes in for, I think it was just that one inning, but he did a great job. He had 2 strikeouts. And then Franklin came in.
He was throwing some heat, wasn't he? Isn't that who he was throwing like a 99, I believe. I
think so.
Not a Ben Joyce, but let's be honest, there's not many Ben Joyces that come around, right? It's
Yeah, so I think that Franklin being a guy that obviously he does have that heat. The only problem with pitchers like that is you need something to kind of offset it. And what I noticed is, let me take a look at my notes. I want to say it might have been like the 5th, maybe 6th inning is when they kind of started to sit on his stuff. Let me see where. Okay, yeah. So it was in the 7th inning. Man, Oklahoma State, you could tell like there was timing them up right. They knew exactly what was coming. They was making them throw them strikes. And, he didn't really want to throw them the strikes because they started to, I wouldn't say that they were really teeing off on him, but they started to make consistent enough contact that he wanted to stay outside of that strike zone. So if this was a playoff game, I think that Tony V definitely would have pulled him. But obviously, with it being earlier in the season, you want to let him keep on, working. And I think that he ended up finishing strong. So that part of it looked good. Who else? And then we had Nate Snead came in and closed. I think that he looked really good. How do you think Snead looked compared to last season, Tim?
I got to see a little bit of it. I mean, not much, but from what I saw, he looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, like Tony V, man, he's not rebuilding; he's reloading. Like,
100%.
It's just wild, and I think they've really got one of the best coaching staffs in the country. Period. Frank Anderson is, I think, one of the best there is as far as pitching goes.
Mm-hmm.
They've got so many guys at the right place, and obviously, when you win like Tony does, I think these kids just buy in, and that just helps create success. And we, like you said earlier too, we've got such a good mix of veterans, and some young guys too.
Yeah. So I feel like, I think that we'll see Marcus Phillips tomorrow. So he's going to get the start. I watched him pitch. I guess it was one game. I don't know how many games he's pitched this whole season. This will be like my 3rd, maybe 4th game that I've watched. But he looked like he's doing a much better job with just not, missing the spot. I think he's a lot more on point than he was last season. So that's obviously great. And then I think that we're going to end up seeing Russell on Sunday. So, I mean, our bullpen is just loaded, dude. Like, I mean, we have everything that you would want, I think, with the baseball team. Now, the only thing that I would say maybe, and it's not even, I wouldn't call it like an issue, but the only thing that might need to get picked up just a taste, and I'm talking about like just a small taste because I'm trying to find anything, is our fielding. Maybe in some spots, there was one play, and it was a tough one. I think it was Curly playing it short. It was a ball that was hit almost right on top of second base. So he does a great job with his range. It's something else that we talked about last season. His range is definitely still there. He missed that. He missed the throw to first, but that was a major league throw for sure. Now I think that he can make it. So that's my only thing is I would say that some of those small little issues and things like, I don't want for the team to get, overly confident, Tim. So I'm trying to find anything, but that would be my only thing that I could point to that I could say, I'm not too sure on just yet. But everything else, I feel like I've seen it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me go back through and let's talk about who all hit home runs today. So I know that Curly hit one. He struck out, I think, looking in the first inning. So he hit one. I don't know what his average ended up being. Who else hit one? Oh, my dude, Kylan, dude, two of them, and he hit that first one. That was right at the Dean. Upper deck, a whole lot of power. And I might be saying his last name wrong. It might be Keelan, but either way, powerful. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be fine. And who else do we have here, Tim? We also had Marin or Marin, right? He's another one. But everybody that I saw hit, it was very consistent contact. Like I said, you don't see these big looping swings. You're not seeing people just swinging at junk. Very patient at the plate. So the offense is fine. I think that the pitching looks great. And then I had to shout out Peebles too, man. I think that was in the first inning. Let me go back to my note. I think in the first, maybe second inning, he throws a guy out at second, and I mean that was a rocket. I mean we had him out by like a mile. So yeah, so Peebles that was in the first inning. So I mean this team is just it's filthy, and I haven't watched every other team play. But whenever you watch us going up against an Oklahoma State, who's played up against really good competition, I don't know exactly what their record is. I think that they maybe lost 3 games, something like that. But they played up against some very, very good teams. And for us to be as dominant as we were in that game, winning 5-2, I think that we could have won by more if we would have, like I said, maybe taken Franklin out. The game wouldn't have been as close. I feel like we kind of, throttled things down some, tried out some different things. But I think that if it wasn't for that, this is a game that Tennessee wins easily and, or even more easily than we did tonight. And I wouldn't be surprised if we, I'm trying to find out when are we even going to lose. You know what I'm saying, Tim? Like, I mean, I don't know if there's ever been I'm sure it hasn't, ever been a college baseball team that just ran the whole tables. And I'm not saying that Tennessee will. But I feel like we're good enough that if we're playing our game, if our stuff is on, I don't see anybody that could beat us. I think that this team would beat our team from last season in a 7-game series.
Everybody but Tennessee Tech.
What do you mean?
Tennessee Tech has beat us 3 years in a row.
Really?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Look it up. Hey, it's wild. Some of the best teams that have ever played baseball have lost to Tennessee Tech. Don't ask me
why that is.
Hey, no. It's just baseball's baseball, though.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, baseball is a wild game, and it can turn on a dime, and things get wild fast. But believe it or not, Tennessee Tech is like that's Tony's kryptonite, and that's it. So outside of that, everybody else.
Yeah. So then what? I think what Coach V needs to do is go out and hire somebody. Yeah, like you need to go hire somebody from their staff, and you know what I'm saying, and just figure out what are y'all doing that's messing us up. I'm just saying because we at that point now.
Probably
we can just go hand select whoever we want, coaches, players. Really doesn't even matter. And I'm not saying that because I'm not trying to be cocky whenever I'm saying it. I'm just being real with you. Like this team is, I would love for our football team and our basketball team to both be on this sort of a playing field where it's like, because this is what Fulmer did, Tim. Like this is like Fulmer-esque, and it might be like a step over that, possibly.
Yeah, I actually think it is. I think it is a step over that, and this year will definitely decide that without a doubt. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Tony's doing some he's doing some wild things. I saw a post on Twitter where they said he was the winningest coach in the SEC right now. I'm not sure if that's. I was like, wait a minute, what? But he's already got 300 wins.
Sheesh.
So kind of wild, man. It's really amazing what he's done and what he's doing and what they built with the pitching and everything. Last year, I felt like the only thing I was worried about last year, which wasn't a problem like mid-season once we was pitching was the only thing I was concerned about last year. And then middle point of the season, oh man, what's the kid's name? He was my favorite guy. He wound up being the most clutch pitcher that we had. He started off pitching midweek games, and all of a sudden, man, he just took over. I hate that I'm sorry that I'm forgetting his name. But he was our guy, right? He wound up being our guy. and maybe Chat can help me out with who I'm thinking about.
I'm not exactly sure who you mean, but yeah, I mean, I was probably in that same boat. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, I know that we got a couple of guys that look good pitching, but it's nothing like what I'm seeing. And again, I can't say this enough. It's so early on in the season.
Yeah, it is.
But even still, like seeing some of the stuff that we're already seeing, it like you can just tell, like, you know when you see it. The only thing that I haven't really seen too much maybe from this year's team is how do we do in those clutch moments? Because last season's team was definitely very clutch. Now that's something that we won't know until it's going to take us until the end of the season to even know how that looks really.
Yeah.
But I think that outside of that, maybe like that clutch factor, and I mean, I said something about the fielding, but even still, like we have so many fielders, man. Like, I mean, like we're rotating in so many guys, and they all really honestly look very solid. They all look very good. They haven't gotten too many opportunities because the pitching has been just outstanding. So yeah, I mean, I think that pitching would have been something that I probably would have pointed to last season and say, yeah, we need to work on that. But also, I feel like our lineup 1 through 9, I knew that we had guys that could hit for power, but we also had guys that would go on just crazy long slumps. And we're going to see probably everybody, right? Everybody on this team is probably going to go through some sort of a slump throughout this season. I'm not really talking about that. Like I'm talking about when guys can't even, like, you're not even making solid contact. Like you're whiffing, I don't, just based off of how they look with their swings and the patience at the plate, I don't really see that being a real issue. And if it is an issue, we have so many more players that we can bring in that it's not too much of a drop off that I just feel like this team is going to be so hard to beat, in any sort of a series whenever it really counts. But, we're going to have to prove that over the course of this year. So we will see, man. But I guess this is just kind of like opening thoughts for us, man. Like, how do we feel about this team at the first real challenge? Right now, Tim, I feel great. I don't know how you feel, but I feel great.
No, man, I'm definitely feeling good about what we've seen so far. I mean, it is early in the season. Let's see what happens when we get to SEC play. Mm-hmm. But I'm definitely excited, man. I definitely feel like feel really confident about us getting back to the World Series. I hope that's the case. I have full faith in Tony, and why shouldn't we, from what he's done, right?
Yep. So yeah, he's definitely he's built something very, very special. But I also want to get into excuse me. I also kind of want to transition, I guess, to what you and I was, we had started to talk about prior to starting this stream up. But with Ricky Gibson, I know that you said that you have some different thoughts on his whole situation, and I don't know if you want to voice that here or.
No, look, I've got nothing against Ricky, and listen, this is the situation we're in, man. Like, you don't know who started this. Most likely it probably wasn't Ricky. It was an uncle, it was an agent, it was father, mother. You don't know. There's so many people with hands in the pie that you have no idea who it is. I want to keep Ricky, but my perspective on this comes from running a business. And if a guy comes in and we've agreed on something and that's where we're at, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give in. That's just me. Yeah. And here's why I say that. And once again, this is nothing bad towards Ricky, but if you do that and you pay him, then guess what happens to the locker room? Everybody else is going to be coming to you with their hand out. Do you have enough money to go through everybody else? Then okay, then maybe it's not Ricky that's mad, it's somebody else, right? And that thing can cascade out of control very fast. That's the only reason I say that. I definitely want Ricky here. I think he's, like you said, I think he's one of the best cornerbacks there is in the league, and he's really good. That's just my opinion. I hope we can keep him, but you got to be really careful about handing out raises once agreements have been made. But listen, this is the situation we're in. College football is an absolute dumpster fire when it comes to this. It's wild, and it's not going to get any better until there's actually contracts and some transfer portal thing changes. And it's sad to see, but this is where we're going. And I hate where it's at right now. I hope we can, get things fixed and get rid of some of these issues.
Yeah. So I totally like I understand what you're saying when I understand what other people are saying too, because I think that there's a lot of folks that feel just how you feel on it, and I'm not here to say that that's wrong. My whole thing though is that number one, I want for Tennessee to win. I want us to win national titles, and I just don't. I think that with the way that college football is set up, everybody's dealing with this, and that's not something that I think. That's something that I know. And just because everyone's stuff isn't necessarily public, now maybe Ricky Gibson or whoever, if it was his agent, whoever it was who made this public, maybe they shouldn't have quite done that. But obviously they did that to get that leverage to put it out there and to try to force Tennessee's hand. Now, looking at this as a business owner, of course, you would hate this situation. But like, let's just say if this is us, if this is any of us who all have to work, okay, if you knew that you could get paid more at your job, if you knew that people were willing to pay you more for the job that you're doing, whether it's like football where, it's life threatening, it has a very strong impact on the quality of life that you will have once you get done playing, and you have a very small window to play it in. I can't really knock him. I can't knock him or anyone else. And Tim, I know that you wasn't saying that you're knocking him either.
No, not at all. And I get it. I just think it was handled, like you said, probably a little bit in the wrong way. I know why they did that, but also I think it would have been more beneficial for them to say, look, come to the coach and had the talk in private, because once this gets out and he stays, then that's when everybody's like, oh, well, he got paid. Well, I want more.
Well, but don't you think that he probably already did that? Like, I mean, I don't think they would have just went straight to the media. I think that they probably tried to talk to Coach Hype and to whoever first, and then they probably wouldn't budge on it. So he said, okay, well, I feel like I'm worth this. If y'all won't pay me that, then I'm going to let y'all know with plenty of time that, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. And if I think that either way, he probably really would leave if we can't compensate him the way that he wants to be compensated. Now, you can be, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying anybody. You could be upset with Ricky for that, but it just, I mean, that's just business now, because like you said, there's no real rules. And until there are rules, this is going to happen. Now, one of the other things that I had brought up, Tim, to the other part of your point with what's going to happen with the rest of that locker room. I mean, we don't have any other Ricky Gibsons inside of that locker room. We got our best corner who he could maybe do that same thing. But it's not too many other people that would be depth players that would even have that type of pull. It's like, okay, well, if you want to go, maybe the staff wants to hold on to him, but it's not going to – they don't have that same type of pull. See what I'm saying? So that's more of what I don't think that the market is necessarily asking for, any of the, and I don't want to, I'm just going to say it this way, any of the other players that might not be shut down man-to-man cornerbacks, because that's hard to find. So I guess my whole point is it just, this is the situation that we're faced with. And we can either say, hey, look, we're going to make sure we compensate them and hold on to them, and hopefully everything works out, or we're going to let them walk. And we know that we're going to be walking into a situation where we're not going to have the same caliber of secondary. And we're going to have to go out and find somebody else. And whoever we're going to be asking for, more than likely, because I don't know exactly what Ricky's asking for, but more than likely, we're going to have to still pay that same amount of money, if not more. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, possibly. Look, man, this is a difficult situation, no matter how you look at it, right? And once again, I'm not hating on Ricky. I understand. Like, if I thought, I could get more money, and that's a lot of money, man. That's a big deal. But also, I don't know, man. It's I just don't think it's a great situation, and I don't blame Ricky. I blame college football. I blame the NCAA for putting us in this situation and where we're at. But just from my perspective comes from running a business and having to deal with this stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not paying my guys $400,000 a year, but it's still kind of the same thing. People are people, and it can cause some issues in my experience. And I've seen it happen, and definitely for way less money. Man, it is what it is. I definitely want to keep Ricky, but it's a sticky situation for sure.
Yeah, but and I guess something else that I would say to that is that there's a lot of players inside that locker room that's not making. I mean, they might be making $40,000 or $50,000, which is good money. I think to most people, especially just to play football. But I mean, it's nothing like what David Sanders is getting paid. Nico's getting paid. There's a lot of people that is getting paid close to like $1 million, if not over that. So it's always going to be some jealousy in there. But that's also how this world works. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone can't get paid the exact same number. You have to get paid what you're worth. So if you're not worth that, you're just not worth it. And but that's why this whole thing is going to be sticky until they can get some type of rules in place to I think there needs to be a salary cap. There needs to be especially a transfer portal limit. That definitely needs to happen.
Yeah,
that's going to be coming up here in April, and this might not be as big of an issue as we feel like it's going to be moving forward. So yeah, I put this 100% on the institutions for not saying, hey, we don't want to have these players be working for us. We're going to do everything that we possibly can to keep them from working for us, because if the schools did that, then they could start to force real contracts, and we wouldn't have half the issues that no one as college football fans like. No one likes this shit. Like, I mean, nobody likes this stuff. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. And I mean, things are only getting more complicated. I mean, but Oklahoma went out and got they're the first person I've heard to announce a general manager, right? I mean, that's where college football is. It's mini NFL now. That's where we're at.
So actually, you know what? There's actually several programs that already have GMs. So Texas has one. USC has one. I know that UNC has one. There's quite a few, but I feel like there's already been teams doing that for years. I think LSU has one too. Tennessee's kind of late to that curve, and we're gonna have to get one too, though.
I mean, that's the way it's headed. And it's a lot of people are like, oh, these coaches, man, they get paid too much money. I don't think you understand how much work those guys put in.
Man,
people have no idea like what time Josh Heupel's day starts and what time it ends and how much time he spends away from his family. Because it just jumps from one thing to the next. It's not like, oh, football season's over, he's just kicked back chilling. That ain't the way, bro. That ain't what's going on. That dude is, and he's traveling everywhere. They're doing recruiting. Like it is absolutely wild the amount of work that those guys put in. And a lot of people just don't see it. They see them when it's football season and that's it. And but those guys put in an immense amount of work.
Yeah, I mean, listen. So Coach Heupel by himself, he probably, we'll just say for 2024. He probably had like 200 different families that he had to talk to. He had to memorize people's names, what they like to do.
The phone calls. The phone calls that they make. I would love to go into the facilities and see the board they have laid out and how the players are assigned to different coaches that are doing the calls, that are doing all the stuff. Because listen to any of those On3 interviews or VolQuest or when they're interviewing these guys. And it's, they call me every day and they do this and like that's just not random. Like those guys, they have a schedule, and you know how many guys they're calling and dealing with and watching tape on, and they still got to manage the team that they already have as well. It's an immense amount of work, man.
Yeah,
and very few people understand how much it takes to do that.
Yeah, I mean all of it, but I would definitely say that obviously, man, that coaching college football, that's got to be one of the most strenuous, it's got to take the most time out of somebody's day. I can't think of too many other jobs that would, I mean, it's pretty much 24 hours, 365. You're always on call. You always got to deal with something. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I would say the college coaches are probably underpaid. I wouldn't be mad if Coach Heupel got paid $20 million. I wouldn't be mad personally. Like I wouldn't have any issue with that.
They do way more work than NFL coaches do. And I'm not throwing shade at NFL coaches, but it's a different kind of game. NFL coaches aren't going out and doing recruiting visits and calling these kids and talking to their parents and all that, man. They've got draft day. And don't get me wrong, they do a lot of they've got a whole building full of people that do research and crunch numbers on all that, and the interviews and the talks and all the stuff, and the combine and all this. Look, man, it's a big business. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, it is for sure. But yeah, so I guess that'll be it, Tim. You know, I wanted to make sure that we could touch on some of those thoughts too, but we got a lot of stuff lined up for tomorrow. So the NFL Combine, we're gonna have Dylan Sampson, we're gonna have Brew, and also Dante. They'll all be, I believe that they will all be working out tomorrow. That starts at 1. So man, that's gonna be it for our guys in the Combine.
Who are you expecting to have a big day out of those 3?
I think they're all going to look good. You know, I think that Dylan Sampson is going to be someone that people talk about, but I feel like Dante is the one that everyone. Yeah, I think they're freaks. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I think honestly, I think just because Brew is Brew, I think Brew might be like whoever lands Brew's getting a really, really good guy, and I think he is a NFL wide receiver for sure. Big guy, good frame, excellent hands. Hell of a worker. But Dante, I think Dante is going to be the most impressive there probably tomorrow with the insane speed for a guy that's 6'5". I wonder who's going to run the faster time, him or James Pierce? Probably him.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Pierce
I think he's going to run faster than and you know what, too? I talked about this on one of the other streams, but I think that James Pierce really could have ran like a 4.3. You know, I think that he was close enough to it. If he didn't have on that hoodie, if he would have ran all the way through on on the first one, if he ran in a straight line like you're supposed to do whenever you're running 40s, he could have got down to a 4.3. But everyone's happy with that 4.47, so he might not want to try to run it that third, fourth time.
Did you see the video with where they had all the guys overlaid and it was running and like he was faster than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
It was Jalen Hurts, and then it was the other wide receiver Brown from the Eagles.
I think the only one that was ahead of him. The only one ahead of him was wasn't it
Barkley?
Saquon. Is it Saquon? Didn't they just win the Super Bowl? He just win the Super Bowl. That's
James Pierce
wild.
made him a lot of money. I actually saw something earlier where they said that he might have made himself about like $10-15 million yesterday. So
I hope so, man.
Hopefully all of our guys can go out there and make as much money as possible because I think that we got some really good dudes inside of this year's draft. And then obviously Pro Day is going to be coming up next month. But I think that we got some guys that are going to turn heads there too. So sure. I'm definitely, I'm looking forward to that. And then I think that the baseball game starts at 4 tomorrow. So is that right?
Is it tomorrow?
There's a game. Yeah, there's a game versus Rice tomorrow. And then there's another one on Sunday versus Arizona. The one tomorrow might be at 1. Is it at 1 or is it 4? It's something like that.
12:05.
12:05.
11:05 my time. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, so we got all of that stuff lined up. Then obviously our basketball team is playing versus Alabama. That game starts at 4. So we got a jam-packed day, Tim. I know you're probably gonna be busy, but if you can, we would love for you to join us.
I'm gonna be watching that game, man. Dick Vitale is gonna be in the house. That's pretty awesome. I heard a really cool thing about Ron Slay talking about him, and it's just pretty cool, man. Good to see Dickie B back, and I hope he's doing well. I know he's fighting the cancer there, and I think he's clean now, and
I think he is,
praying for him. So
yeah, 100%, man. Prayers to him, prayers to all of y'all as well. I hope that y'all have a great Friday night. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We hope that y'all will be coming back tomorrow because we got a lot more to talk about. But as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Peace.
Thank you.